Hi Year 6 and welcome to Tuesday's reading lesson. Today we're going to focus in on chapter 36 of Holes and that chapter was read by our guest reader yesterday, so hopefully you caught up with it. Stanley and Zero have been walking towards Big Thumb and they've climbed up towards the top of it now. So let's have a quick look at this extract and then I've got a question for you to think about. What do you think's up there? Zero asked. Stanley looked at the top of Big Thumb. Oh, probably an Italian restaurant, he said. Zero managed to laugh. I think I'll get a pepperoni pizza and a large root beer, said Stanley. I want an ice cream sundae, said Zero, with nuts and whipped cream and bananas and hot fudge. So my question to you is, pause the video so you've got time to decide, what food or drink would you be imagining if you were with them? Okay, I hope you had lots of delicious ideas. I think mine would have to be chocolate fudge cake and ice cream and a big glass of cold lemonade. So let's move on now. We're going to make some predictions today. So first things first, you need your pen and paper. There's not going to be any independent activities to set off today. It's just going to be following the lesson and answering the questions as I lead you through them. So if you write a title of chapter 36 at the top of your page, and we're going to do a little bit of predicting. So first question is, do you think Zero and Stanley will reach the top of Big Thumb, first of all? So do you think they're going to make it? They're climbing their way up. They've got to a flat part now and they can see, and that Big Thumb's just directly above them. So do you think they're going to make it? And secondly, what do you think they will do or find if they do reach it? So I want you to take a moment to write down your answers. It's two separate predictions there, and you need a sentence and an explanation for each. There's some sentence starters down here at the bottom, and make sure you explain your answer. So you might put, I predict they will not reach the top because they're really tired and they're almost about to collapse anyway. Or I think that they will reach the top because they've got this far already, and my prediction is at the top they will find whatever you think they'll find. Okay, so nice full sentences with explanation. Write your two predictions and then come back. Okay, hopefully you've made some predictions then. You might have decided that they would reach the top or not, and you might have come up with all different things that they're going to find at the top. Maybe they will find a bit of a lake or a water source at the top, or maybe right at the top of there is where Kate Barlow's loot is, where the kind of money and the treasure is. We don't know, do we? So hold on to your predictions, because as you listen to the next chapters in a moment, you will see whether they've come true or not. Let's look at another chunk then and make another prediction. So, he wondered at Stanley if the warden would send out a search party to look for him. It didn't seem likely. She didn't send anyone to look for Zero, but Stanley had a family. She couldn't pretend he was never there. He wondered what she would tell them and when. So, when Zero went missing, nobody really cared. They said that nobody would miss him and they were just going to destroy his papers and it would be like he never existed. But obviously, Stanley's mum and dad know he's there. So your next prediction is, what will the adults at Camp Green Lake do now that Stanley has run away? So you have to imagine, we're following Stanley and Zero, but you have to imagine that you're following the warden, Mr. Sir, Mr. Pendanski, back at camp. What are they doing? What are they going to do next? So they might follow them. They might get the truck working and follow them. They might ring Stanley's parents and tell him they've run away. They might ring the police and send them after Stanley. Or they might just wait, do nothing and hope that Stanley's going to come back. Okay, so it's up to you to decide what's going to happen next. So again, there are some stems here. And you're going to write a couple of short sentences with explanation about what you predict they will do and why, and what will happen next. Okay, so pop your prediction down and then come back and join me. Okay, so hopefully you have done that now and you've made a prediction about whether they're going to follow him or what they're going to do and what they might tell his parents. So, this is our last section of the chapter to look at today. We're going to come away from predict and we're going to try to explain. So, the quote from the text says, I should warn you, Stanley said, I'm not exactly the luckiest guy in the world. Zero wasn't worried. When you spend your whole life living in a hole, he said, the only way you can go is up. So I want you to explain now. So I want you to copy down Zero's part of the quote, what he said, and then you're going to think about what it means. So if we look at the whole thing together, Stanley warns he's not the luckiest guy. Now we know Stanley says that because of the curse on his family and he always gets bad luck. Zero's talked about spending his whole life in a hole and saying the only way is up. So you need to think, we've got two parts to this here. He said that he's always in a hole, so the only way is up. So we've got a kind of a literal part, because if you're in a hole, you can only go upwards. But we've got the metaphorical part as well, what he is meaning. So you've got to think, what does it mean when someone says things can only go up? Okay, so things can only get better. So Stanley's saying that this probably isn't going to go very well, but Zero's saying he's not worried because the only way you can go is up. So I want you to try to put a short explain answer together. Remember, we've done answers in school for explain. They are your meatier answers and they need to make a few points. So you need to say what you think, you need to link to what's actually said in the text, and you need to give an explanation that links it all together. There's some starters here that you could use. When Zero says this, I think it means. I think Zero said this because. So have a go, pause your answer, and then I will go through some of the things that you could have written. Okay, so hopefully you've got a nice explain down and maybe you used a sentence stem to get you started. Now, hopefully you will have talked about A, the literal. So he said it because he's always in a hole, he's always under the ground, so he can only get up from that to carry on going. And then what he means by being not worried about that is that his life is pretty bad. So he spends every day digging his hole at this camp, which is basically a prison. So his life is pretty bad, and he's saying it can't get any worse than digging holes. So I'm not worried about what's going to happen to me now because the only way is up. It can only get better. You could also relate it to they're going up the mountain now. So that might be another reason why he's saying up. Okay, but the main thing that you need to get from that is that he's saying his life as it is so bad that whatever's happening now can't be worse. It can only be better. It can only go up. So well done if your answer detailed something like that. Now, all you need to do next is find the next chapters on YouTube, check out who our mystery reader is, and sit back and listen to the chapters and see if any of your predictions come true. Thanks for joining the lesson.